So what's up, y'all, man? I'm gonna take a quick look at this Halo Infinite campaign reveal. This is what I'm most looking forward to. Everybody's been pretty hype about it. I've seen a lot of positive things about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick look at this, man, and do a live reaction. Then I'm gonna kind of give my thoughts about, some things and maybe some things to consider. So let's go ahead and check this one out, man. Let's see what's good with it. Let's go. All right, yo. All right, so I let that shit ride for a little bit. Now I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about, some stuff that I want to kind of talk about. So first things first. So just a couple things. So overall, I thought that the gameplay was cool. I thought that not really gameplay, but I think the biggest thing was the graphics were cool. It looked like just technically, just fundamentally, can the game run? I think we could check that box off. A lot of games can't do that nowadays, so we gotta give credit where credit is due. So the game looks like it's running relatively well. There was no hiccups, there were no freezes, any glitches. There weren't. Graphically, things were okay. That's something that 343 has always done well. The game will run. It's not going to be buggy. You're not going to see any crazy shit going on. For the most part, 343 will make a game that runs and a game that will look good. Like graphically, it was fine. Like, graphics were there, the sound was there, so they do good in areas like that. But where they kind of fall short on is a lot of times, like level development is a problem. Implementation of the gameplay is also a problem. So there's some good things here, man. So taking a look at the some of these environments are amazing. The new enemies look interesting. They look like they look like some enemies. They don't look like they're your friends. I mean, they look like they spent 25 years in a Russian prison. You know what I'm saying? Probably looks like they don't like, people of certain pigments, but we're not going to talk about that. But anyways, the colors are super vibrant in the story as well. That's another big thing. Just it looks great. Like the game looks great. The enemies are there. I like how they kind of return back to just straight banners, which is essentially the Covenant, but they're red now instead of purple. So now we have the red Covenant. They just got tired of being purple, so now they're fucking red just because. I mean, it's all right. I ain't tripping. So that's cool. You got the open world, and that's something that I think was a little concerning for some people. I think I kind of know how this works now. It's kind of like the typical open world formula. It's like a Far Cry. Honestly, it's very similar to me to like a Crackdown or something, or like a Batman, or any Batman Arkham Knight or whatever. Like one of these games where you have this massive city, you got a bunch of things that you can do, and you got a progressive story that you can follow. But you got all these different side quests. I mean, the more you collect, the more you can upgrade your character. I mean, we've all seen different iterations and different versions of this implementation of the open world. So to be honest, I'm not necessarily against it. It's not something that we've never seen in Halo before, and I think that's okay. I think that's perfectly fine. I think it could potentially be something just a good change of pace there. I really do think it could be kind of cool, kind of fucking around in a big ass sandbox. Like, we always like to say that Halo was kind of sandboxy, but it was allegedly sandboxy. It wasn't all the way sandboxy. So, but here we go. So a couple of things. So one of the biggest things I have, my biggest concern, so there's a lot of there's a lot of good stuff here, but there's nothing definitive here to kind of like super get into it until like we really get our hands on. So I'm not going to speak too much. We don't know how it feels or how fun it is to play, but the biggest concern I have with this demo is the actual gameplay. Like everybody's saying it's the fun, snappy gameplay. I am concerned because she was saying she was playing on heroic. Look at this right here. Take a look at this right here. I'm gonna just let this ride for a little bit, right? Take a look at this right here. This is apparently heroic. Look at the enemies. Look at the enemies. Look at the frequency in which they are firing at the player. That's one of the things that heroic and legendary used to do so well. It used to always put the player on their heels. The enemy was incredibly aggressive. The minute they saw you, I mean, they were unleashing like a hailstorm of projectiles towards you, and it forced you to, you can't rush head up. You have to use different weapons, get different elevations, circle the map, find better cover. Like, you had to outthink the enemy because they were so aggressive. And that's something that's lacking here, which is a concern, because look at how she approaches this. Take a look at this. Look at how she's approaching it straight up. Okay, the guy doesn't see her. He sees her now. He doesn't start shooting. How many seconds until he starts shooting? I don't know. He sees her for about 2 seconds, and now he's shooting at her. So there's already 1, 2, 3 bullets right there, 4, 5, and they all hit her. So a volley pretty much hit her. I mean, you can look and see that there's a little bit of leeway with the shots here. There's a little bit of a leeway with kind of like the accuracy, so they're not so overpowered. They're not super straight. So you saw he shot like 8 or 9 bullets at her and missed maybe like 5 of them. So he shoots and then he immediately runs. So let's see what he does. Does another volley, missed all of them, and his shield's already down. Hold on. So let's go back real quick. Let's run it back a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at this one more time. Okay, sees her. Okay, sees her. All right. Gets shot, immediately does a side dash, runs back, misses all the shots. Shield is down. I want to say his shield went down in 1, 2, 3 volleys. All right, so take a look at that. 3 volleys and the shield is already down because she missed a bunch of shots. 3 volleys and the shield is down, and this is apparently heroic. 3 volleys and the shield is down. The enemy had to jump on her, missed all his shots, and now he dies. So that's a huge concern for me, and that's the biggest problem I see. So you got to take a look at that. I think everybody should notice that. That's part of the reason why a lot of 343 games feel flat, is that the enemies just are fucking trash. They need to tune them better, and I think maybe this is like a tuned down version. I don't know, but this is something that we've seen in games before, and this is what I talked about in my analysis. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go check out this video right here. I'm about to go link it in the channel right now. Go ahead and take a look at it. But that is a concern for me, and that's one of the things that I'm noticing right now. So let's go ahead and keep looking real quick. So we're getting a better look at the map here. Let's take a closer look at the map. So if this is the full map, it's not big. It's not like, if this is the full map, it looks about that's really not that big, and I think that's okay. You don't want an overly massive map. I think that's okay. I don't think it needs to be super large. I think it's perfectly fine that it's not that big. So this is what we saw previously from the first gameplay trailer, and this is kind of these outposts that they were talking about, where you capture it and you reclaim like a certain part. It's almost like Crackdown, where you have to reclaim the city. All right, you know what I mean? Like, you take out the enemy and now you got influence over the city. It's very similar to that, or like a Arkham Knight. Collect data, collect audio logs. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's cool. So here's a little bit more combat here. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. So take a look at this and let me know what you guys think about this. So look, you see how he was already returning fire, but her shields are recharging. So if her shields are recharging, that means he's not hitting her. So either these enemies are undertuned, and which they are, but that's another example of what I'm kind of illustrating, is that these enemies are going to be pushovers. If this is heroic difficulty and she can go through missing shots like that, not taking cover, not trying to Yeah, not look at that enemy right there. He has eyes on her the entire time and has not fired a single shot. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I'm highly concerned about that. Are you guys okay with that? I'm personally not. Not a single shot. Wow. That's concerning. That's very concerning for me personally. Let's see. All right, we got some more gameplay right here. Let's take a look at this right here. So another firefight. There's a guy to her left, had sights on her the entire time, not a single shot at her. That's a concern. Look at that. Couple shots. Now he starts shooting. Wow. Okay, so you were surrounded. So she was completely surrounded. So if we go back another 5 seconds, so if we take a look here to her left, approximately from what we saw, there's at least another 3 or so enemies. You could kind of see them right here on the motion tracker. From what it looks like they are maybe obscured by this shielding that she's in, but I think that brute actually had an angle on her, but since he wasn't looking at her, he wasn't actually attacking. And that's something that is common in video games. You know, you don't want to be getting shot in the back and stuff. You kind of have to look at an enemy before they'll shoot you. But this is relatively concerning because you're surrounded completely by enemies, right? And this brute right here had sights on her the whole time. Look at her health. She's out of position. She has 4 enemies, and apparently she's playing on heroic, and yet she has absolutely nothing taken from her shielding. So that's further illustrating the point that these enemies are honestly pushovers. So for me, for somebody that loves playing campaign, loves a challenge, loves playing on legendary, I am very concerned about that. That was one of the issues I had, and this is a straight technical thing. You have to kind of program the AI in a way to allow them to be aggressive, or else it's just not going to be fun, especially in a Halo game. So they see her, no shots, they just kind of looking at her, and the damage apparently seems tuned down. But you know, maybe this is a tuning thing. We haven't seen it on legendary, but I don't think they would change AI. They just change damage values for the most part. It's just too much work, and this is coming from somebody that kind of does technical work every day. Like, you're not gonna do that. It's not worth it. Like, they got to see their families too. Like, it's just a job for a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, look at, but here we go. The graphics look amazing. You can't take that away from the game. The game looks amazing for sure. The environment looks amazing, but the enemies are fundamentally trash. And here we go, same scenario, same problem. So now we're talking a little bit about, you know, the weapons and the vehicles you can drive and stuff like that, and that's all good, and the different abilities you can use. And like I said, I don't have any problem with any of that, to be honest with you. Like, the abilities that you can use and the unlocks and the progression that your character goes under, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, just picking them apart up there. You got multiplayer, and that's something I gotta take a look at. I haven't looked at any multiplayer yet. I plan on dropping or taking a look at that when the video. So that's another thing. So the enemies are very inaccurate. You saw none of those shots hit. They weren't really shooting at you like that. Yeah, I mean, there's really no threat here, man. So this is concerning, the fact that this is apparently legendary or heroic. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just talking about upgrading, being able to upgrade your kit and your suit, and that's all cool. So okay, so we saw here, so here's another good example of the combat right here. So take a look here. So we have a little bit more scenarios of some firefights that she's getting into. So let's take a look at this right here. I mean, look at the graphics. They're amazing. They really are. Can't take anything away from that. Game looks phenomenal. All right, so he's got they got the so look at that. Look at this. So they had their back turned, and you have a brute there that is just kind of sitting there, just like, all right, bro, like, are you gonna do something? Look at her health. Look at her health. Now let's resume. Look at her health. Two brutes, and the health only disappears when the turret gets her. But they give her every chance to kind of, you know, get into cover. This ain't good, man. So now we're talking about the boss fights, where apparently this is where things got difficult for her. And the reason why things are difficult is not necessarily because you know, the game is, you know, she's talking about legendary, but this is not, or the heroic, but this is not a Bungie heroic. This is a 343 heroic. 343 heroic is very lenient. Like, the enemies are not accurate, they don't shoot very often, and they give you pretty much every chance to be successful. Okay, so we got a little bit stronger enemies, but I mean, okay, so look at the tracking on those needlers right there. So take a look at this right here. So here we have a needler, and they don't track. This is 343 needler, where they like kind of like nerfed it a little bit. It doesn't track, so the needler isn't a threat. You're surrounded by 1, 2, 4 people. Got people with a elevation advantage against you right here. Elevation here. And she's just kind of strafing around the bullets. Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, I've got, okay, so here we go, fighting the boss right here. Fighting the boss. Okay. Turn their back. Out of cover. Turn their back. They're not really, so look at how lenient the boss is. It hits hard, but it doesn't hit off. Okay, so they took 3 direct brute shots. Let's take one more close look at this right here. Look, let's take one more look at this right here. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, 2, 3. Took 3 direct. They took a total of 5 brute shots in, like, you know, like around 10 seconds. It took 2 brute shots, brought her down about half shields. It took about another 3 to 4 seconds after that to reach back to full, or until like she could recharge. And then right after that, she took 3 brute shots again, and those brute shots brought her down to about a fourth of her, approximately a fourth, a little bit more than a fourth of her shields, which is incredible, by the way. I know this is heroic, allegedly, but this sure does not seem tuned like a heroic would. So they say they're on the right track. I would say yes, but no. Okay, so they also took a direct plasma blast. Take a look at this right here. Direct plasma blast here, and that just took them down to a fourth. Wow, that is incredible. No return shots, and they do return, but they all miss. Wow. So a couple things. So yeah, the biggest thing for me as I let this thing ride out. So now that we kind of took a closer look, we analyzed this a little bit more in depth. I want you guys to kind of give me your opinion on what you guys are seeing. Are you okay with the lack of just aggressiveness? To me, they kind of seem like wet noodles. They don't really seem like they're doing anything. So I feel like for me, as a gamer that I am, I tend to overthink things. I'm kind of a thinker when it comes to stuff. So I feel like I would just kind of like, all right, I'm not gonna sit up here and like waste my time trying to get tactical with y'all. I'm just gonna just shoot you guys till you're dead, because you could literally just walk up right up to them and just keep shooting until they die. And and just for me, from my technical background, I kind of give a little bit of my thoughts on it, just from like how you would design something like this. I'm thinking that they designed it kind of as leniently as possible because they wanted as broad of a reach as possible, because this is like the launch title, this is like Xbox's premier title for the holiday season. They want as many people playing the game as possible. So I think a couple things, they didn't want to turn off people from the campaign because not everybody is going to be, the truth of, with, Halo and shit like that. And they want kind of it to be super accessible where everybody could kind of have fun. I think that's one of the decisions that they made. I also think that they're limited by the technology and the algorithms that they actually implement for the way their their characters behave in game, like the behaviors that they've allocated to these models. I don't believe that they are tuned well enough in terms of like a Halo standard. This is like kind of like the standard that 343 has established, but in terms of like just straight up the legacy of Halo, it does not hold up. So that's my biggest concern there is it going to be fun because of that? For me personally, I know that I've always struggled with 343 games because I get bored quickly. The enemies are just too easy for me. They're just not even stimulating enough for me to even get any endorphins from actually playing the game. So, and it's not really, it doesn't get any harder with damage. It just gets annoying. Like you do the same thing, it just takes a little bit longer. So it's not necessarily any harder on legendary than any other difficulty, and that was what kind of made it good back in the day, is that each difficulty, it would still be a challenge. Like you weren't gonna die, but you still had to kind of work for your kills. Here it just kind of seems like you're gonna have your way with everybody. So I am highly concerned about that. That was one of my biggest concerns about the campaign, and I wish that I didn't see what I saw. But just knowing how the world works and the constraints that you will have in a 5-day work week in the United States, and just how things work with budgets and how technical projects just come about, it's not really surprising, especially when you kind of have some knowledge on that type of world. So for me, I don't know, I'm a little disappointed to see that, but I think everything else looks very strong. I think everything looks great except for that one aspect. So I'm concerned about that. In terms of story, I don't have any problems with the story. I am completely uninvested into it. So whatever happens, like I'm okay with either. So for others that are a little bit more invested into the story, maybe you guys can chime in and let people know what's good with that. What are you guys thinking? How is that going to go down? This, that, and the third. But yeah, man, that's just my thoughts so far. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Just some first impressions about this story and this game, man. Everybody, appreciate y'all for hanging in there with me, man. If you haven't had a chance, if you made it this damn far into the video, make sure you get a chance to like and subscribe, man. I'll be making more content. I might even fuck around with Halo Infinite and shit. If y'all want to get down, we can go ahead and get us a group of boys, and we're gonna get after it this holiday season, man. So y'all have a good day, man. Everybody have a rest of enjoy the rest of y'all's day, man. And I'm gonna be up out of here. Peace.